the dentist, the social worker, the golf pro, the second cousin once removed, her mother. These are just a few of the elegies author Miriam Winnick provides us in her exquisite The Big Book of the Dead. Her book is a touching series of remembrances of those whose lives and deaths have touched hers. Our lives are so full of dead people that any sane way of living involves constant remembrance, Winnick says. My life has been shaped as much by the people who are no longer living, she continues, as by people who are. Writing her book, she says, gave her the chance to hang out with her friends. Yizkor is our chance to hang out with our friends. Yizkor is our chance to hang out with our family. Yizkor, the very word means remembrance. Yizkor is our chance to give time and space to the memories of those no longer living, to honor the stories of those who have shaped our lives, those who have imprinted themselves upon us like strands of DNA. Whose life, whose story are you here to remember today? What comes to mind first? Maybe it's their hair. Maybe it was their smell. Maybe, like my grandfather, it was their really big hands. Maybe it was the way they laughed, told bad jokes, were the life of the party. Maybe it was the kindness they displayed to others, the way they made the perfect martini, or their ferocious love for you. Last week, one of my rabbinical school colleagues, Rabbi Sherman, shared the story of his older brother, Ayel, on the second yahrzeit of his death. Ayel died during the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, during the very time we implore God to write us in the book of life. Ayel died on Erez's birthday. Ayel was 36 when he died, and he had been a quadriplegic for 32 of his 36 years, having suffered a stroke at the age of 4 from a brain tumor. He was totally intellectually intact and had graduated from Syracuse University with a BA in Fine Arts. Here is some of what Rabbi Sherman shared about his brother. For more than 2 decades, I had the honor of sharing Ayel's life story with the world. I spoke to my classmates, my congregants, youth groups, colleges, and faith-based organizations. Yet in loss, I shifted my focus. I now shared Ayel's story out of memory, out of fear the world would forget his life, that his accomplishments would go unnoticed. Each day I have promulgated his life, the beautiful art he created with his mouth stick, family pictures posted on social media, and the poems he painstakingly wrote on the computer with his assistive technological chin switch. There have been many tears, there have been many smiles as children learned Ayel's story and told me their own challenges they have overcome. As adults, seek inspiration from our family, our community, our story. This week, I will light a yahrzeit candle to continue to celebrate all Ayel brought to me, to our siblings, to our parents, and to so many who never knew him, but know what he contributed to God's earth. I turned 37, but Ayel will always be my older brother, guiding me to do right, to do good, to keep living a notable life. The stories of our loved ones matter. They matter desperately. They matter urgently. They matter because they are the way we keep our loved ones in our hearts and in this world. So I'm going to do something in a moment that I realize might make a few of you a little uncomfortable. I'm going to invite you to think of a person you're here for today, and then to bring that person out of your head, out of your heart, and into this room with us by turning to someone next to you or in front of you or behind you and sharing a little bit of their story out loud with that person. Maybe you want to share something about that person's life that inspired you. Maybe you want to share something about that person you want to emulate. Maybe you want to share a favorite memory or a favorite saying. My grandmother was famous for saying, "It's nice to be nice." Why am I asking you to do this? Because their story matters and it needs to be told again and again. I'm asking you to do this because Yizkor gives us the opportunity to look around and realize that even though we may be feeling terribly sad and lonely right now, we are actually not alone. That there is something we all share, how it feels to live with a heart that will never be fully healed, to live with a void that will never be totally filled. I'm asking you to do this because one of the sacred things we can do for one another is to listen, to be present for one another, and to gain strength from one another. As Rabbi Bakdal said in her Rosh Hashanah sermon, every time we extend ourselves to another human being, we create an opportunity for someone to feel connected back. The person you turn to might be a family member and someone you know. It might be an actual stranger. All I ask is that you make sure that everybody who wants to be included in this exercise is included. And one more thing. When the person shares with you, I'm going to invite you to do what we call holy listening. That means your job is just to listen. It's not to ask questions, not to make suggestions, not to try to fix or even to respond, just to be present for the person next to you and to be a witness for the life they are bringing into this room. So I'd like to invite you to take 1 or 2 minutes each to share, and in a couple of minutes, if you haven't already switched over, I will let you know it's time to think about switching. Thank you for sharing the stories of your loved ones. I know it's hard to let go of them, but I'm going to invite us all now to come back together. My prayer for us all is that we continue to find ways to keep the stories of our loved ones alive, and that their memories and their stories continue to inspire us to do right, to do good, and that we should all keep living notable lives. Gamar Chatima Tova, may we all be inscribed this year in the Book of Life for a good year.